or 7 hours. How many miles are left of the entire trip if the entire trip is 400 miles? If I'm traveling at 43 miles per 1 hour, and I am traveling 7 hours, I can set up an equivalent ratio. And to solve this, you can do your cross multiplication. So then I take 43 times 7, and 43 times 7 is what? 301. Then I need to take that away from my total trip, which is 400. So 400 minus 301 is?
99.
99 is your final answer.
99.
If you just got it by taking 43 times 7 without setting this up, that's okay. You can do that too. Number 2 is everything that we're working on in this chapter. With rational numbers, we have 6 fifths plus 15 fourths. What do I need to do? Can I add a fraction and a decimal together?
No, you need
No.
to put it over.
So you can't just put that over 1 when there is a decimal. So I either change the 6 fifths to a decimal or change 15 and 4/10 to a fraction. I'm going to show you both ways. So to change 6 fifths to a decimal, I just take 6 divided by 5 goes into 6 once, 1 left, add a decimal, bring it up, add a 0, bring it down, 5 goes into 10 twice. So, yeah, this 10 right here. So 6 fifths is really 1.2. So I have the 15.4 plus 1.2. Make sure you line up your decimals when adding and subtracting decimals. Then 4 plus 2 is 6. Bring down the decimal. 5 plus 1 is 6, and 1. So your final answer is 16.6. Let's say I changed the 15 and 4/10 to a fraction.
Do you want us to write
This is, yes, I do want you to write this one down because this is what we did yesterday. So what I do is I take my 15 and I pull that out. And then I read this as 4/10. So I've got 6 fifths plus, the 15.4 would be read 15 and 4/10. So I make sure that wasn't doing a very good job lining it up, so I'm going to draw my line so it shows you the whole numbers and the fraction. When I'm adding 2 fractions, I need to make sure I have
The
common denominator, which would be 10. So 5 times 2 is 10, 6 times 2 is
12.
So I have 12 tenths plus 4 tenths is
15.
16 tenths. So I have 15 and 16 tenths. 16 tenths though, I need to make that a mixed number. It would be very good, 1 and 6 tenths, because 10 goes into 16 one time, 6 left over.
Yeah, the one.
What am I going to do with, and I have to add that 1 to the 15, which would make 16. But I don't want it to be written as 6/10 if I'm going to make it as a fraction. I need to reduce that to, divided by 2, yes. And that would be 3 fifths. So 16 and 3 fifths is the same as 16 and 6/10. Either way, you get the same answer. I just like to change my fraction to a decimal because to me it's faster. And then I'm not worried about whether or not I have common denominators or not. Number 3. Janet drove 300 miles in 4.5 hours or 4.5 hours. Write an equation to find the rate at which she was traveling. So if I'm traveling 300 miles, my rate would be 4 and 5/10 hours times the number of hours I drive. That's it. Did I have to solve it?
No.
Nope.
But I had to
Number 4, finding the common factors of 12W and 15WZ. 6 does not work because 15 cannot be divided by 6. 3W works. 3XZ does not work because nothing has an X. 12Z does not work because 15 cannot be divided by 12. 3 works for both of them. Z does not work because 12 doesn't have a Z. 4W does not work because I cannot take 15 divided by 4. But W does work for both of them because they both have a W. Number 5 says, in the rectangle to the left, if the perimeter was 90 inches, what would be the value of X? I gave you the formula to write down. I said it was 2x plus 30, because that was what we found yesterday, equals 90. Draw your line. Then I'm going to put a box around my 2x. I'm going to subtract 30. Put my equal sign. Those cancel each other out. So I'm left with 2x equals 60. Box that x.
Divide by 2.
Divide by 2.
60 divided by 2 is 30.
So x equals
30.
How many of you got 30 as your answer? That is awesome! Way to go, guys!
Wait, I have a question.
Way to go. Yes.
So, I did this a completely different way.
Okay, what did you do?
So I added 2, and I divided 30 by 3, and then I divided 90 by 3, and then I did 1 times 30 and got x equals 30.
I think you just got lucky.
Probably.
So you better write this one down, okay?
Oh.
Alright, now we're gonna get into a little bit more difficult of a problem. And I want you to copy it down, just like always, because you guys were supposed to do 1 through 5, right? So now I'm gonna go over 6, 7, and 8. 6 is set up like this. K over 2 plus 1 minus 1K equals a negative 2K. Draw your line.
Can you go that up, please? They never use K as the letter.
The K just happens to work. I have 3 K's here, okay? Before I do any work, okay, I want you to see that the K over 2 is really like saying
K divided by 2.
it's not really. It's actually 1/2 K, because if you do K divided by 2, you would actually get the problem incorrect. Okay?
Okay.
So now, if I have K over here, shouldn't I take these K's and get them over there?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna do one at a time. I can add these together if I wanted, but I'm just gonna do one at a time. If this is a minus 1K, how do I get it over there?
Add 1K.
Add 1K. Add 1K. So if I have 1, so now over here I have 1/2 K plus this 1, those cancel each other out, equals, what's a negative 2 plus 1?
And 1.
Negative 1K. Right? Now, I said don't treat this like multiplication. It's just like saying there's a 1/2 of 1 there. So if I have a 1/2 of 1 on this side, I gotta get it over there. So if this is like a positive, what do I have to do? Negative 1/2 K minus 1/2 K. So those canceled each other out, and I'm left with 1 equals a negative 1/2 K. So far, that's not too bad. But now, this is where I'm multiplying it by. Okay? So now, because I have my number next to my letter, now I want my K to be by itself. Because you can't get that letter by itself to the end. So how do I get rid of multiplying? You divide, right? And anytime you divide mixed numbers, this needs to be changed to an improper fraction. So it's really a negative 3 halves k, right?
Yeah.
Now look here. If I take a negative 3 halves divided by a negative 3 halves, it's like saying a negative 3 halves times negative 2 over 3. So if I'm dividing by this fraction, it's really just like multiplying by that fraction just flipped. And if I multiply this side by that fraction, I have to multiply this side by that fraction. Do you see how they cancel each other out? I know some of your heads are spinning and you have no clue.
You're right.
That's okay. So this equals k, we're left with k, just, and then a negative 2/3 times 1/3 is a negative 2/3.
That's the answer?
Yes, yep. Now, I know heads are spinning. I get it. But guess what? Your heads were spinning when we started these.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And how many of you did really well so far and ended up getting it, and are getting it? Yeah.
Kinda.
Exactly. Kinda is better than nada.
Nada.
Right?
My head already blew up.
Alright,
My head's like
going on to number 7.
across the room or something.
Yeah, it's been that way. Alright, number 7. If you want to place a 9 3/4 inch towel bar in the center of a door that is 27.5 inches wide, how much space will be on each side of the towel bar? When I started this problem, I started by drawing a picture. Here is my door, and it said that is 27.5 inches. So from here to here is my door. It is saying I want my towel bar to be in the center. And that towel bar takes up 9 3/4
Inches.
inches, yes. So I'm asking what is here and here, and I want them to be the same measurement.
Oh, we did this last time.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my full-size door, 27.5, and I'm going to subtract by 9 3/4. Subtracting with mixed numbers, you have to have a common denominator, and what should be my common denominator? 4. So take this times 2 over 2, so I have 2/4 minus 3/4. Can I take 2/4 minus 3/4?
Yes.
Yeah.
No,
Oh, no.
No.
because I cannot take 2 minus 3. So you borrow. The 27 becomes a 26. If I'm borrowing one whole, that means I add one whole, but in fraction form. Isn't 4/4 1?
Yes.
So, thanks. So 2/4 plus 4/4 is
6/4.
6/4. Now I can take 6 minus 3, which is
3/4.
so 3/4. And then 26 minus 9 is
17.
17. So that's the distance between here and here. So how do I decide to make it even?
Divide
I
by
divide it
2.
by
2.
2, which 2 goes over 1. When I'm dividing fractions, my mixed number needs to become an improper fraction, which would be 71/4. Change the division to multiplication and find the reciprocal. I cannot cancel anywhere, so 71 times 1 is 71, 4 times 2 is 8.
71.
Do not leave it as an improper fraction. Because I'm not going to read a tape measure to 71/8. I'm going to take 71 divided by 8. 8 goes into 71 8 times, which is 64. 7 left. So it's 8 and 7/8 inches. So if I actually do a real life measurement and I use a tape measure, I'm going to use 8 and 7/8 inches. And mark it from both sides of the door. I would go from here and measure it in this way, the 8 and 7/8, and I'd start here and measure it back 8 and 7/8. So then I know I would want to probably make my marks right there. Yes.
When I was reading it, I just did like
Okay, if you change it to decimals, I understand that because we've been kind of working by changing back and forth. But when you read a problem like this and it's a real life situation, when I read a tape measure, it's not gonna be in decimals. Okay, so don't count it wrong, but understand why we have to keep it in the fractional form. And if both of them are in fractions, you just leave it in fractions. You only need to change it if one's like a decimal and one's a fraction. Does that make sense? Okay. But yeah, cause like real life, I'm gonna get out my tape measure and measure it. And number 8. I'll read it and then I'll tell you what I was thinking about. It says a store is selling cookies for $8 for 12 bags. How much will it cost if you want to buy 30 for your class? Well, I first think about, if I go to the store right now and they say it's like 2 for $5. Right now, those taffy apples, I love those things. They're selling them for 2 for $5. Okay? How much is each container?
$2
How'd you get $2.50?
divided by
Because I took $5, right? Divided it by 2, and I got $2.50. Setting that up will help us go to set up number 8. So number 8 says, a store is selling cookies for $8 for 12 bags. So my $8, is that going to be on the top or the bottom?
Top.
The top. $5. You always put your dollars on the top.
I can't.
Or I put it on the inside. So I'm going to say $8 divided by the 12. How many of you put 12 divided by 8? If you would have gotten to it. That's why I look at something simple first. I know when if it says it's 2 for 5, I'm dividing $5 by the 2. If it's $8 for 12, I'm going to take the 8 divided by the 12. When I go to do the math, 12 times 6 is 72, 8 left. Bring down the 0. 12 times 6 is 72. What? What?
Repeating decimal.
It's gonna repeat, okay.
Yeah.
But we're talking money here, alright? So you really wanna go one more, and then you're gonna round to the nearest hundred. So I'm gonna underline the 6, arrow to the right, so it's really about 60 what? 67 cents. Now I need to buy 30 of those, so I'm gonna take that times 30, hang out that 0, bring it down. 3 times 7 is 21. 3 times 6 is 18, plus 2 makes 20, and 3 times 0 is 0, plus 2 is 2.
2.
1,
Yeah.
2 decimal places, so I start on the right, I go 1, 2. So it's $20.10 for the 12 bags.
I was right.